I know of companies that when somebody puts in a 2-week notice, that's usually the day that you're walking out the door and you get a last check for those 2 weeks and you're escorted out.
I feel safe enough to tell you I made a mistake, or I feel safe enough that I want to continue to grow. They're still hurt in the sense of, oh my God, like we're losing, right? Losing a piece of us.
It's also a risk to the business. The more we help team members grow, there would be some that would argue we're disadvantaging ourselves. This morning when we got the letter, we were together at another meeting, and then I came in, talked to this individual, congratulated them, and I imagine you've already done the same. Do you think, I think this approach is not typical from a lot of entrepreneurs, at least, people I know in the entrepreneurs organization or other businesses or even our old world in the nonprofit space or the government space. I know of companies that when somebody puts in a 2-week notice, that's usually the day that you're walking out the door and you get a last check for those 2 weeks and you're escorted out. That's not our approach generally or ever. How did that, and again, with respecting privacy of the conversation and the individual, how did that conversation go today for you, and what was the reaction from the team member?
I think for me, it was it said a lot about a lot of things we're talking about, right? Our core values of who we are and how we treat people with respect. The fact that this individual felt they needed to talk to each individual they were working directly with and explain the situation and explain what was going on, I think speaks volumes to our core values as a company. Also, again, for me, it was a bittersweet moment of like getting choked up and feeling like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. But I'm still, again, they're still hurt in the sense of, oh my God, like we're losing, right? Losing a piece of us. But for me, it was almost like that moment of, I don't have any kids, but I would imagine you send your kid off to college and it's like, okay, we've got you here, right? We've got you to the next step. And we're still a part of that life and we're still a part of that chapter of who they are. And they're flying now. Like we got them there. Like, so to me, it was that moment of that realization, that conversation that I had with this individual and really saying like, I'm proud of you. Like, I'm proud of all the work that you've done. I'm proud of the steps you've taken. We've been talking about them and you've jumped and I'm excited to see you fly. And for me, it was even if you don't fly, like we're here still, right? Like it's that, for me, it was like that, what parents describe as that moment of sending your kid off to college is like, we're still here. However, go fly because I know you can.
Sounds like we had very similar conversations with this person. And again, it's always, I think it's a tough situation for the business, but I think it's an exciting moment for the individual and for us as individuals to see that person grow and take that next, like you said, the next leap in their career and their life. So wishing that people the best.
We've dealt with it before, so it's just been a good trajectory of understanding that that's how we're setting people up. Like this is not the first time it's happened. That again, you've had other people who, hey, you've shown me this, and I realized that I like doing this more. Let me pivot. I think it speaks a lot about again that Coastline equity and who we are.
So I think it also speaks to kind of the one of the key core values that we've been talking about today of growth mindset, and really finding people that are growth minded and want to learn and want to grow and want to expand their horizons. But it's also a risk to the business. Speaking frankly, as an entrepreneur business owner, the more we help team members grow, there would be some that would argue we're disadvantaging ourselves. I think you and I disagree with that characterization. But how would you describe what we're generally looking for when we're looking for a growth-minded team member to join the company?
I think on the first half of doing the disadvantage, I think we're really looking for somebody who can bring something to the business that we wouldn't even dreamed of. So again, that growth mindset also brings opportunity. It brings forth this growth within Coastline Equity where we've never dreamed of. So I think it's also not only where we can see the handicap, we can also see the growth. And when we're really looking for that in our hiring process, is really understanding what somebody does to individually grow, right? Not something I forced you to do. I didn't force you to go to the training, but what trainings have you already done? What books have you read this year? What are you doing, again, to fulfill and to grow yourself? Because I've learned that somebody who wants to grow is going to grow no matter what. What did you do? And so when we provide that opportunity to grow, that just flourishes even more because they've already have that, again, that mindset of growth. I want to keep learning. I want to keep seeing the next opportunity. I want to learn. I want somebody to invest in me like I invest in myself.
Is there a time that you can think of where you hired somebody and you were really excited about them and you thought they were growth minded, and then in the end it didn't work out, and maybe why?
I think yes. I think there's been times where we rushed our process, right? Where, hey, I need this whole fix. I need somebody here today. And we've only completed half of our process instead of the full thing. And really when we found that, yeah, they fit a certain portion. Yes, they're a great property manager. Yes, they're a great account executive, but the other part didn't fit, right? They didn't finish the core values, or they didn't fit the way that they learned something or the way that they want it. We found that it didn't fit, right? We broke our own process because we were so eager to just fill the hole. I don't want to deal with this stress today. And we've put somebody in before instead of enduring that process overall.
And in the end, what I think we all know what happens in the end when you rush things. What maybe you describe for those that are listening, kind of the risks of rushing the process or deviating from what you believe is a proven process.
Definitely. I think that it really becomes detrimental to the current team that you have. Again, that person not only comes into the current team that you're building and nourishing and watering, it's you start to almost poison the well in a sense. It can become a very toxic environment with your current team. And it just becomes, again, we're prolonging filling that hole with the right person, right? Because not only now do we have to document what's going on, we have to get HR involved in all of these different components, and then we still have to refill the position and do the whole process again. I think we really hinder ourselves and put a bigger strain on the team when we just throw somebody in there instead of really building them up and making sure that they're the right person for that position.
How do you go about ensuring a strong culture, and a team culture where they can trust each other and trust the company and trust us as business owners? How do you build that and nurture that culture?
Definitely. I think this is something we've consistently grown on, and really I feel like we always want to continue to grow and not ever just say this is a process and this is how it goes, because again, as individuals, we're constantly evolving, constantly changing our thought process, how things go. I think when we first started, we thought like, hey, maybe we just need to do a lot of team building. We need team socials. We really need to provide opportunity for people to interact and build those relationships. And not that that didn't work. It's just that wasn't the all fix, right? We didn't just fix everything with just having a team social. I think we really learned that the way that messages came down, right? The way that we discuss something in leadership and the way that it's communicating with the team, that plays a role, obviously, in that trust and relationship building. Also, just asking team members themselves. We tried something completely different this quarter. We really tried surveying them, right? We sent a survey anonymously to every team member and got feedback, and it's doing something about it. It's not just, I sent a survey. It's, hey, I got the survey, I got the feedback, now let's make the changes. Again, going back to having people feel heard, making sure that they understand that their feedback is valued, um, and really listening to our team, I think is really the bigger component, and having that kind of that open door policy as a supervisor, that when you feel like you have a problem, you can come to me whether you made a mistake or not. And I feel like that also plays into that culture piece is I feel safe enough to tell you I made a mistake, or I feel safe enough that I want to continue to grow, or even today, like I feel safe enough to have that conversation with you that I am growing to the next step. I think all of that plays a role in culture and who we are.
And I guess as you start to receive that feedback and those ideas, how do you ensure that open door policy remains after you get those surveys and you start to work on addressing those opportunities for growth?
Definitely. I think it's really being transparent, right? Like human beings, we're really listening first. I think a supervisor really needs to be able to listen, and think constructively of what it is that they're hearing, right? It's not a defensive thing like somebody's telling you directly, hey, this, say there's a broken process, like this is broken, and say the supervisor built it. Instead of taking it personal, like, hey, you're telling me my work is incorrect, it's, oh, you could come with a different solution. Explain to me what you think can be fixed. It's more of listening and being proactive in that way that I think that really helps that open door policy, right? Instead of that defensiveness or the chewing of the head off of the team member, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable enough with being vulnerable, with sharing what's going on. And I think it's a really fine line, right? We don't want somebody to just say like, oh, we're best friends and they tell me their whole life story and we spend 3 hours at work gossiping versus, hey, they feel comfortable enough to tell me they're in this vulnerable state. I understand. Here's what I can do for you on a work level. And there's still that mutual respect and that mutual understanding that we're not going to gossip or talk deeply about what's going on, but I understand that you're going through this and I can be empathic to it.
An area I want to explore is kind of what's next. What's next in our continuous improvement process at Coastline Equity? What's next in our HR processes and training processes? And where do you see us investing next in training and development and coaching as a company?
Definitely. I think we've come a really far way in just the training aspect of it, of building the processes. I think it's time to get to the next step where we're training consistently on those processes. How often are we stopping to say, hey, here's just a refresher to our team. This is how we do things in a 10 or 15-minute block, but we're using those opportunities to just refresh everyone, right? It's easy to fall into habit of I just done this for the last 6 months this way, and that's why I do it. Where it's easier to train a team and say, hey, this is why we do it this way. And as more consistently as we do it, I feel like it really helps. So I think that would be an awesome next level to get to. Really understanding and training our middle managers to be that open door policy to, hey, everything's flowing up and down and we understand consistently what's going on. I think consistent surveys, again, we've just started that and having something consistent, understanding the pulse of the team, what's going on, how is it going. um I think even just providing opportunities to people who want to teach, right? There's people who are, oh my God, I'm super excited to be a mentor. And there's others who are like, oh no, I'm afraid. And that's not just what I'm good at. So providing those opportunities for people to mentor, for people to say like, hey, I'm really great at this. Let me help somebody who's not so great. And empowering not only the individual who's great at it, but the one that's not, giving them that extra resource.
So we've spent a lot of time talking about allowing somebody to grow and maybe explore outside of the company. But I wanted to kind of circle back 1 second and talk about how can we encourage the team to see growth within the company and see their future with the company. I think for any of the entrepreneurs or real estate investors that are listening, what advice would you give them to help them nurture their team to see, hey, here are the other opportunities that you can grow within, or hey, as the company grows here, here's what else will be evolving as well.
I think it's really explaining what that means. I feel like there's a lot of times we do here at Coastline Equity, we work on EOS. So every quarter we spend that time of, yeah, in a year, this is where we want to be. In 3 years, here's our picture. In 5 years, 10 years, right? But it's really up to that leadership team to explain that further. This means that there's going to be this opportunity coming up. If we hit this at 3 years, this means that, hey, potentially I see that you have this potential. Is that something you're interested in? We can start training now that in 3 years, when we hit this marker, that opportunity will be available for you. Or again, a succession plan. Maybe that leadership team member feels like, hey, I want that position. Who are you training to be in your position when you leave? Like, is somebody going to be ready? And really having that succession plan. So I think the opportunities of really, again, training the trainer is something that I'd like to focus on. If understanding that the message that is given at the quarter is really broken down and explained, right? It explained to the team, like, these are the opportunities coming if we hit these goals. This is what's out there if we're able to hit these markers at the year mark, at the 3 year. And even if we get to that big, scary, hairy, audacious goal, the BHAG that EOS calls the 10-year mark, that what does that mean for them? And explaining that, I think that gives us the opportunity, again, that fire for each individual to say like, oh, now I see the growth that I want. And again, I feel like it gives even the team member who's happy with where they are, like, hey, I can help somebody else get there, right? That mentorship, they can provide like different opportunities to say, hey, I'll just train you on what I'm good at so you can get there.
So we've been talking about the individual paths, and I think one way that we've really learned in our own careers and our own upbringings is through mentorship. And I want to kind of explore mentorship with you, and your opinion, and talk about maybe some of the ways that we have done this effectively of pairing our team members with a mentor, and maybe some areas where we have an opportunity to grow. So like historically, you and I have played that mentor role when we were a much smaller team with our individual departments. And as we've scaled and grown, I'm worried that that's maybe something that is getting lost as we continue to grow as a company. So what are some ways that you think that a company can really ensure that mentorship is happening at any level and any scale?
I think it's really going back to understanding each supervisor understanding their team, right? Normally they're managing between 4 and 7 employees. Of really understanding each of them, right? And understanding, like, is this person just okay or happy or satisfied with where they are? Do they want to grow? What can they offer somebody else on your team? We're really going to start relying on our supervisors that we've mentored or that we've worked with directly. Oh, hey, I've showed you the ropes from the top. Now you show somebody the ropes underneath you. And it's kind of like having them, we've taught them, now it's them, and they've understood. Now it's their turn to teach the next level of really empowering them to do that. I think there's a lot of hey, can I do this? Hey, can I not? Of like, hey, let's try it. What can go wrong with somebody trying to empower somebody else? Well, we're spending 15 minutes a week, 20 minutes a week, really having that conversation like, hey, did you hit your goals? Why didn't you hit these to-do lists? What happened? How can I help you? What where did you falter? And really having those conversations on a colleague basis, I think really helps, again, that human component. Like, I don't feel like it's punitive when you're asking me. I feel like, okay, you're really trying to help me. Kind of takes that supervisor team member mentality out of it, and like, okay, my peers asking me, let me see what they're successful at, helping them grow in that way.
So another area I think that it's important for any entrepreneur to remember is how their leadership skills are showing up day to day in the business, and how their emotions and direction affects the company and the team and your customers and your tenants, all of the above. And I think for me, I've really realized over the last few years how my leadership style has changed from 5 years ago, even 6 months ago. Definitely 10 years ago to today, my leadership style is very different. What are your thoughts on how an entrepreneur or business owner or real estate investor's leadership and their style affects the business?
I think my first question to them would be is, would you speak to a client in the manner that you're speaking to your employee? And if the answer is yes, then most likely you're speaking to everyone with respect and genuinely how you would treat somebody. If your answer is no, then you probably should reevaluate, again, how you're speaking to people. Again, our team, we're only as strong as our team around us. In my opinion, we would treat our team better than we treat clients or we treat anyone else.
I was going to argue that I wonder, I'm not even sure that that's even a fair description, because I think in a lot of times your approach with each stakeholder is going to be a little bit different. And I think in some ways there's a different rapport with your team than you have with your clients or your tenants if you're a real estate investor. So I guess pushing back on you a bit there is beyond just the communication. Let's talk about kind of the leadership style, in terms of leading the people around you, and sometimes leading doesn't mean directing. A lot of times it doesn't mean directing or guiding. There's different styles and different forms of that leadership.
Definitely. I think in that perspective, the way that we lead is very individualized, right? We have some people who love to communicate via email and text, and they're just a lot better in writing than they are of somebody sitting in front of them with so much emotion. It's like, how do I deal with that? So really looking inward and being able to say, like, what am I truly good at as a leader? Where do I shine? Where can I really take and help lead this team to execution? And really focusing on your strengths. I think really being able to look at yourself and say, hey, I'm really good at listening. And let me provide that component of, hey, sometimes our employees just need a sounding board. They don't need a solution. They just needed to vet, and then, okay, I'm done. I can go back, and it was 5 minutes, and I can go back and I can get all of this done. Versus I couldn't have those 5 minutes. I can't keep moving forward. So it's really learning as a leader where your strengths are, what you're good at, and how that impacts your team, and really understanding what your team needs, right? Some employees don't need you to be there on top of them and say, hey, I'm here for you. Hey, I'm here for you. For them, some people feels like that's micromanaging. Or for you, you're just like, hey, no, I'm just trying to check in and make sure you know I'm here. So it's really understanding each individual and understanding where they are and being able to provide that leadership style to them. And I think that's the hard piece, right? Is taking ourselves out of it and being able to say, what can I provide in my strengths?
I think sometimes, leaders can get into a situation where they feel like it's their job to catch every single mistake or to catch every problem before it happens or to double check everybody's work. What advice would you give to that leader who's working through that challenge of like it's their job to catch every problem?
I think it's really important to understand that we're human beings and we're gonna have mistakes no matter what. And even if you triple checked everything, I'm 100% sure there's still a mistake gonna get through, and either we're gonna train our team to grow from that mistake. Hey, they made it once and it's never gonna happen again, versus I think one of our team members always says we're not doing brain surgery, right? It's not just something that can't ever be reversed. Sometimes it takes being authentic with the client or with the vendor or whoever it is that we made the mistake with, of like, hey, I'm human. I'm really sorry this happened. It won't happen again. Here's what I'm going to do to fix it. And this is how we're going to continue to grow and manage your portfolio. I think that accountability gives us, again, very human element of, hey, we're human, but we're still here to serve you. We're still here to provide you the best quality, and we're going to do what we can to do that. However, if we're so stressed out with catching the mistake, we're never at our best. We're never at 100% of what I can bring to the table because I'm so stressed about making sure that mistake doesn't happen.
So before we conclude, I just want to reflect and have you reflect on the shared journey we've had together at Coastline Equity. It's a unique situation where husband and wife are business partners as well as life partners. And I think we built a pretty unique business in our approach to business. I think we regularly get a lot of comments about how we interact together and how that looks in business and outside of business. But I think another key advantage of us working together, running a business together, being married, is that we both approach kind of what we call our Coastline Equity way very differently. How would you define the Coastline Equity way?
I think for me, it's really wrapping up everything we've just talked about in the last, I don't know how long we've been here, but really taking into account that we're working with people and we want what's best for them. We want what's best for our clients. We want to make sure we're working on communication. We have that transparency. We're setting goals. We're holding people accountable, but we're still enjoying that process. For me, the Coastline Equity way is, again, it goes to the growth of somebody, whether it's internal or they leave us. It's the idea that we're always looking at how we can provide the best quality service, but for our team members, but also for everyone, all our stakeholders around. And just really taking our core values and understanding that is who we are and we live them day in and day out. That is the Coastline Equity way, is that no matter what the situation is, our core values come first and who we are as human beings, and that's our way, and we live and breathe it every day.
I think it freaks people out sometimes when they get to see it and they realize it's not just words on a wall, and I don't think we even have the words on a wall anywhere. So I think it's a different approach than many companies take. So thank you for being willing to do this podcast episode with me. I know this is not your normal way of helping the business. I know you're not normally the person who wants to be in front of the camera. So I think this is step one to get you on stage to accept the next award or to speak to a crowd that's not a group of kids. But I think it's a testament to how we've been able to grow as a company, is your leadership behind the scenes, really guiding the people processes and training and HR. You're really helping us to cultivate that high-performing team where each team member feels valued. So really excited to continue this journey. For those listening, stay tuned for more insights in our next episodes. Until then, lead with heart, empower people, and make a positive impact on the communities you serve. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and follow us on social media for more tips and insights, and see you next time.
Anthony A. Luna is the CEO of Coastline Equity Property Management, based in Southern California. As a respected Forbes and Fast Company contributor, Anthony shares insights that help property management professionals excel while giving back to their communities. His upcoming book, Property Management Excellence, will be available in 2025 on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores worldwide.